So, I mean, when you think about Ohio State's offense, I think they are still trying to find their supreme identity, right? They can clearly throw it. They've got incredible talent on the outside. They've got what I would consider to be a really healthy, steady, strong running back room with some depth where you've got a home run hitter in Travion Henderson, and you've got, guys that you feel really good about running between the tackles and Chip Trainum and in Mayan Williams. And again, not to say that Travion can't, but for whatever reason, he's been better when he's gone to the outside. And I don't know that that's necessarily a condemnation of him as much as it is, for whatever reason, the offensive line struggling when he tries to run between the tackles. Either way, this is an offense that hasn't had a ton of big pop plays on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. They've had explosive plays through the air on a lot of them. But they actually, I heard earlier today, they have the fifth fewest rushes of any college football team of 10 yards or more. Only 11 times this year they've had a 10-yard or more run. And I suppose there's a part of me that thinks, well, gee, these Ryan Day offenses have been a heck of a lot more pass happy in years past than they are this year, but they seem to want to run the ball more this year. The run pass breakdown has been more even this year than it's been in previous seasons. And yet the home run ball on the ground has really only been there once, when Travion busted the big one a couple weeks ago in South Bend. So one of the things I'm really interested to watch is, can they hit some explosive plays on the ground to maybe put on tape, like, hey, we worked really hard on this the last couple of weeks. And, for everybody that wants to play a little bit off, give us a little bit of room on the outside, because you don't want Marvin or Mecca to beat you over the top. Now we've added this additional threat. I'm interested to see if that develops.
Well, and I think that, the tape of the Notre Dame game where Emeka was the guy, that 2 Saturdays ago, now teams are going to have to factor that in, and they're going to factor in the fact that, Ohio State hasn't been great on the ground. And, this has been a theme of ours, right? You go back to Indiana, we questioned a lot of the play calling and the design. Remember, they were in the I formation. It didn't look the part. And then as we went into Youngstown State and Western Kentucky, it was a lot of physicality questions. Like, what is this offensive line going to be? And yes, it's been a really fun past 2 weeks since the Notre Dame game. Hey, let's say 3rd-and-19 doesn't go Ohio State's way. There's a whole lot of different conversations that are happening right now, because there's still some things that Ohio State needs to improve on. And I think that is not lost on Coach Day, especially. I referenced it yesterday, but I just couldn't have loved his first media availability anymore. It just seemed like a guy and a coach who just totally unsatisfied, hey, that tape's gone. That game's over with. We're done with it. We got to continue to get better, because what we did on Saturday isn't good enough to keep going forward. So I loved that mindset. And there is a lot that needs to get better. And honestly, when you look back, even to CJ last year and even the years in the past, the run game is such a big portion of what they do. Yes, everything. The headline is wide receiver U. It's Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka. Those are the headliners. But they've always had a really good run game, and it's always paired really, really well with their pass game. And right now, it still even feels a little disconnected, where it's like, all right, we've gotten into situations where we're being forced to throw the football because we can't run it. And that leads to really tough scenarios for Kyle McCord and for anybody throwing the football. And then on the flip side, hey, if you're not throwing it successfully, teams are going to load the box and hey, best of luck. You can't throw it right now. We make you run it down our throats. So it hasn't really meshed to this point. And really what I'd love to see, and you made a good point, what did they work on in this bye week? And it's going to be really the run game and making sure that it marries with the pass game, so that instead of it just being 2 different options, it's all one, and you're being able to throw off the run and you're being able to run off the pass. And, I think that's really big. And I think you're going to start seeing steps in that direction to get it to where it needs to be.
Well, to your point on Ryan Day, everybody else can feel pretty good about the Notre Dame win, and I know Ryan felt as good as anybody about that in the moment. But man, it is his job to set the tone, and so you need a guy to basically say, "Hey, we have turned the page." Even if, and I'm not saying that it's happened, I'm just saying, even if there are guys who are slowly turning the page because you're feeling good about yourself because of what you just did, your head coach's job is to make sure he knocks you down a peg and say, "Hey, buddy, congratulations, you won a big regular season game. What do you do?" That's not what we that's not what we're trying to accomplish around here. That's what we expect to do around here, right?
Hey,
So yeah,
peek inside the locker room. A peek inside the locker room on like Tuesday or Monday of this week. It's like, oh no, like every player knew it was coming because it is true and it needs to happen. And a lot of these guys are veteran and they've had it before. And the last thing you want is a hangover. So like the team knows that they're moving on, but you walk in on that Monday and you're like, we're gonna get his worst today because that's what they got to do. They got to just reset. But
sometimes it's got to be like manufactured. You make it up, right?
Yeah, coaches will come in like, Marvin, I can't believe you dropped this ball, or you looked horrible here, terrible route, this, that, and the other thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, should I even play anymore? Like, what the heck's the point?